Hello everyone. In last video, I reintroduced the covered interest arbitrage, which is that if you find that there's another country with a higher interest rate, you want to capitalize that higher interest rate together to hedge the exchange rate risk. And then remember when the forward rate changes because of the transaction. And to certain level, the investor will find that no matter whether he or she conducts covered interest arbitrage or invests domestically, he or she get exactly the same return. At that level, that status, we call it interest rate parity. Interest rate parity is a status that conducting covered interest arbitrage is meaningless because no matter whether you conduct covered interest arbitrage or invest domestically, you have exactly the same return. And I try to here, we try to find a forward premium or discount, which is basically the forward rate. With that rate, forward rate, it reaches this so-called interest rate parity status. So suppose, remember the first case, we have US dollars and the US interest rate is 2% and the UK interest rate is 6%. This is UK's interest rate, this is US interest rate. And the S is $1.4 per pound. This is the spot rate. And you have AH, which do you still remember in our example is 100,000 US dollar. We label this 100,000 US dollar as AH amount. And to conduct a covered interest arbitrage, we first convert our home currency, which is US dollar, to foreign currency. Remember, the UK, the British pound amount is the US dollar amount divided by 1.4, which is the spot rate. So again, we label this 100,000 US dollar as AH, and 1.4 is S. This is the British pound amount. And do you still remember this is equals to 71,428.57 British pound. And the second step, we deposit this amount of British pound in a bank and earn 6% interest rate. So this is this 100,000 US dollar divided by 1.4, which is this 71,000 British pound times 1 plus 6%. So this is the ending balance after a certain time. In our case, is 90 days. And the ending balance in British pound, this is equal to 75,714. And by negotiate, remember on day one, to hedge the exchange rate risk, we also sell a forward contract. And the F is 1.4 in our initial example. This is F, and we can write it as S times 1 plus 0%, or we label this 0% as premium or discount. This is the formula. And when the deposit matures, we will convert the foreign currency into home currency. So we basically use this 75,714.29 times the forward rate, which is 1.4. So this is 1.4. And this 75,714.29 equals to this formula. And we can, again, we replace this F as S times 1 plus the forward premium or discount. And we will find those two S will cancel out. And remember, after we find out the ending balance in US dollar, So this will be 106,000 US dollar. Then the return when we calculate the percentage return will be this 106,000 minus 100K. Sorry, let me erase this. $100K divided by the initial investment. This equals to 6%. So this is the ending balance. Actually, this part equals to this 106,000. So if we want to find out the return, it will be this amount minus the initial investment, which is 100,000 divided by 100,000. Those will be cancelled out. So AH divided by AH equals to 1. So this return simplified as this. And remember, this status is when the covered interest arbitrage is infeasible. So when it's infeasible, if the return equals to the domestic return, you will rationally not do the covered interest arbitrage. It's meaningless because you can comfortably invest domestically. It's just the one transaction, and you earn 2%. So this 2% basically equals to IH, is the home interest rate. And then we can rearrange this formula, and it equals to, we move this -1 to the right hand side. So it's 1 plus IF times 1 plus P equals to IH plus 1. So 1 plus P equals to 1 plus IH divided by 1 plus IF. So P will equals to this IH, 1 plus IH minus 1 plus divided by 1 plus IF minus 1. It's approximately equals to the difference between two countries' interest rate. So if we visualize this, so this is the vertical axis is the different interest rate difference, and the horizontal axis is the forward premium or discount. If it's positive, it's forward premium. If it's negative, it's a forward discount. And think about our first case. So the IH is US interest rate is equal to 2%. And the IF is UK's interest rate is 6%. The IH minus IF is negative 4%. So we know it's on here, it's negative 4%. And also we found that the spot rate equals to the forward rate. So forward rate is 1.4, spot rate is 1.4. So then we find the P, because those two are exactly the same. 1 plus P equals to 1. Then P equals to 0%, which means the dot located here. So to reach because then we know if the dot is lying on this line, interest rate parity line, this means covered interest arbitrage is infeasible. But if it's not on this line, which means the covered interest arbitrage is feasible. So as more and more arbitrager conduct the arbitrage, the dot will move on the left-hand side, finally reaches on this line. Because the interest rate differential should be exactly the same, 4%. It will not change. When the 90-day forward rate is 1.32, so F is 1.372 equals to S is 1.4 times 1 plus P and we can find P is approximately equals to 2%, negative 2%. It's a forward discount. So the interest rate differential is still negative 4%, but P is negative 2%. It's closer to this IRP line. And finally, when the forward rate declines to 1.34717, we can find out P equals to negative 4%. And it's right on this line, which means at this time, at this status, the covered interest arbitrage is infeasible. And US investor will earn 2%. For the UK case, so at the beginning, again, US is IH. This is the base currency. UK, which is IF, is 2%. So we know IH minus IF is 4%. So the dot at the beginning located here is 4%. Because the spot rate equals to the forward rate, the premium is P equals to 0. This is Fs times 1 plus P times 1 plus 0%. And then because the interest rate differential, it keeps the same. So IH minus IF is always 4%. The dot will move to the right hand side. When the forward rate is 1.428, spot rate is 1.4, we will find P is approximately equals to 2%. So the interest rate differential is still 4%, but the forward premium is 2%. So the second dot is here. And then the last dot, we solve this P, we found P is approximately equal to 4%. So it's right on this, it's 4%. It's right on this IRP line, which means UK investor will earn 2%. So transaction cost is a big consideration. You should take it into consideration. And that is when you have transaction cost, basically is bid-ask spread. So with this set of information, we do cover the interest arbitrage. This is very straightforward. And we find out that the return is 6%. This is exactly the same with this home interest rate. So from this data, we know that covered interest arbitrage is infeasible. So even you find the domestic interest rate is lower than the foreign interest rate because of the transaction cost, which is a bid-ask spread, covered interest arbitrage is infeasible. So in this case, we know that IH is 6%, IF is 8%. So the IH minus IF is negative 2%. But this covered interest arbitrage is still not feasible. So we found that with this transaction cost, the IPR line becomes an error instead of a line. all dots within this area indicate that the covered interest arbitrage is infeasible. This is the covered interest arbitrage. So it's not a line, it's an error. If you find out the forward premium and the relation between forward premium discount and the inflation, the interest rate differential located in this area, it means it's infeasible. And the political risk, sometimes the government will restrict the exchange of local currency with for other currencies. So it's impossible to do cover the interest arbitrage. And the differential of tax loss is also a consideration. If the government has a very high tax on the incomes, like interest rate income from other country, then the cover the interest arbitrage is infeasible. Finally, so the forward premium or discount probably linked with time to maturities. So different time to maturities has different interest differential, will lead to different for the premium or discount. So for example, here, the annualized 30-day US interest rate is 4%, but the annualized 30-day Euro interest rate is 5%. So the inflation interest rate differential is negative 1%, which indicates that for the premium is 1%, for the discount is 1%, or for the premium is negative 1%. For 90 days, the interest rate is different. The interest rate differential is negative 5%, which indicates for the discount is negative 5%. For 2 years, the interest rate differential is 1%, which indicates for the premium is 1%. So that's basically all for chapter 7, and I have some practice here. The first practice, when US interest rate is 13%, this is IH, which is the home interest rate, and the British interest rate is 10%, which is IF. And the forward rate on British pound exhibit. So we basically use this formula here. And the reason we have use this interest rate parity to calculate the premium is that if it's not on the status of interest rate parity, arbitrator will keep trading and the forward rate will keep changing until you reach this level, and it will fix there. So we use this formula to find out the premium or discount. We found it's a positive number, so which means it's a premium. And if US has an interest rate of 7%, British interest rate is 10%, then the forward rate on British pound exhibit, we found it's negative number, so it's a discount of 2.73. This is the third one is a similar practice. If interest rate parity exists, the covered interest arbitrage is not feasible. Assume that interest rate in the home country of currency X, this is very misleading, this home country. Actually, because the direct quotation we use US dollar as the base currency, so this currency X actually is a foreign currency in our formula. Even you call this home country, it's still a foreign currency. And it's higher than, so the P, which is the forward premium or discount, equals to 1 plus interest rate of US divided by interest rate of X minus 1. So when Ix is much higher than I equal S, this will be negative. So exhibit a discount. So I give you some data to show that. So question 6 shows that based on the interest rate parity, the larger degree by which the foreign interest rate exceeds the US interest rate. So remember, US is IH divided by IF, 1 plus this minus 1, this is P. And when IH is less than IF, it will be negative. And the larger the difference between those two, the larger the foreign discount, forward discount. I also give you some data to show that if foreign currency has an interest rate of 15%, US interest rate is 10%, the discount is 4.35%. If the foreign currency has an interest rate of 20% and the US has an interest rate of 10%, the difference is 8. The discount, the forward discount is 8%. If the foreign currency has an interest rate of 25% and the US has an interest rate of 10%, the forward discount is 12%. So question 7 is that the US interest rate is 10%. British interest rate is 15%, and the interest rate parity holds. So British investors will always will invest domestically because their interest rate is higher. And their return is 15%. And for US investors, there's two ways: or invest domestically, they earn 10% interest rate, or they use cover the interest arbitrage. Remember, in this case, because the interest rate parity, they will only earn 10% again. They cannot earn 15%. So basically the answer is D here. And I use numbers to illustrate why is that. So assume that S is equal to 1.40. This is the British pound spot rate. And if the interest rate parity holds, the premium discount will be P equals to the interest 1 plus the US interest rate divided by 1 plus the British interest rate minus 1. So it's negative 4.348%. Then we can find out the forward rate, the 1.339. And we use the forward covered interest arbitrage. We first find out the amount of British pound we can get by selling 100,000 US dollar, and the British pound the interest rate is 15%, so the ending balance is 82,142.86 British pound. We sell the British pound forward at the forward rate, which is 1.339, and then when we convert the British pound amount to US dollar, we use this forward rate because we sign the forward contract. The ending balance is 109,989. The return is around 10%. So that's D here. That is basically chapter 7. Thank you very much for watching. And after you finish the chapter 7 class, you can take the midterm 2 exam. Midterm 2 covers chapter 5, 6, and 7, 3 chapters. Thank you for watching. Bye.